Evening, my wonderful students. All threats made up to this point mean nothing because I'm now being recorded. You guys, I'm going to get reported for being unprofessional again. Okay, guys, let's look at what we looked at last week. Yeah, we went to what leadership was, and we spoke about the fact that it's about influencing. Oh gosh. Okay, Brett is here. I'm not looking at those messages on the group anymore. And we spoke about the difference between those two individuals. Now, unfortunately, I did these slides before this guy decided that, yeah, he didn't realize he was in a race. And then we still have Trump, and I'm not going to talk about Trump because I'm being recorded. Okay, guys, so in terms of where we're going to start today is how how we, gosh, I think there's real confusion. No problem, Brett. I think there's a heck of a lot of confusion going on. So when we look at discussing leadership and defining leadership, there are these four options that we can look at. Now, if we think of leadership as a person, you would almost argue that when it comes to leadership as a person, it would be those characteristics, it would be those traits. And it's the suggestion, obviously, that here we consider leaders to be born. So the thinking is leaders are made. When we look at leadership as a process, sorry, that's my chair squeaking, I don't know why. When we look at leadership as a process, oh gosh, the reality is that this point of view argues that you can actually teach somebody to be a leader. So the belief is that leadership involves a variety of actions and activities, and if you can embed certain processes in a leader, you could actually make somebody who is not naturally a leader a leader. Who is of the view that leadership is an innate thing, that leaders are born, and that you can't make leaders? Give me examples of born leaders. Is Siya Kolisi a born leader, or did we make him a leader? Because when we look at him as a person, I mean, every single characteristic suggests that this is a born leader. But Cleo, yeah, absolutely. Graham Smith, absolute born leader, started I think captaining when he was barely able to hold the bat. I think there are a number of born leaders, but what Sia does so well is he has these characteristics, these charismatic bits that charismatic bats. Thanks for confusing me, Ria. So these charismatic bits that naturally attract people to him. His personality is of such a nature that it's warm and endearing. Absolutely, Charles. I think it's that magic combination. But when we think of how Sia behaves, and I always think at that press conference where they were talking about, and obviously the journalists were there and they were harping on about somebody in our team who can't kick. And he said, well, it's a team game. We're not worried only about Mani the book. When one person can't kick, somebody else will take over. And his answer got got applause from the journalists. And it's a suggestion that this person is a real leader, but from a process mechanism perspective, he does it so incredibly well. And then leadership as a position, who would be the most powerful leader in the world based on their position? This is scary to say. The most powerful leader in the world based on that person's position.
Wouldn't it be the
Who's in
president?
charge? Which world leader would we consider? Go, Ongeziwe.
The president? I think so.
The president, yeah. For me, the US pres. I agree with you, Gerard. Taylor Swift. Yeah, well, I think Taylor Swift is a leader. Who agrees that Taylor Swift is a leader? Sorry. I don't know. That's not my generation. I still listen to um Nort. Gosh, yeah. I still listen to Dire Straits, and unfortunately none of you will even know who Dire Straits are as a band. So normally if you don't know, it's another 25% missing. Yeah, so Joe Biden we would consider Joe Biden we would consider as the most powerful person in the world. I mean, he's in charge of the most powerful nation. We would obviously, Cleo, fantastic, plus 25%, Cleo, just for recognizing that Dire Straits is actually a band. The rest of you, well, you're failing already. So, in terms of leadership as a position, I think Xi Jinping from China is obviously in a very, very powerful position. Yeah, and then we have the nut jobs in the world, the Vladimir Putin's, the yeah, Netanyahu from Israel. There are a couple of those. But in terms of South Africa, it's obviously going to be Cyril Ramaphosa. He is the person in charge of the nation. Leadership as results is a very, very complicated discussion. Can we base someone's leadership rating on the results that they've achieved? Can we assess a leader on the basis of their results? What makes it difficult to do that? You know, sometimes the line of sight between a leader's behavior and the successes that are achieved, that line of sight is sometimes very, very blurred. So let's say you take a company, take charge of a company, and the economy is booming, um, high levels of positivity in a country, consumer positivity as well. People are spending money. The truth is, that person will look a lot better than they might be. But if you're appointed as a leader and the economy is declining and people aren't spending, it will be a very different view of that leader. So, again, can I ask, can we measure a leader? Well, it's exactly that. I always found it quite ironic when, yeah, when my word, and now I can't remember the person's name. This is ridiculous. This is when you listen to Dire Straits. This happens to you. When Jeff Bezos went to space, and it cost 250 million rand a seat or something ridiculous, and he dedicated the trip to the workers at Amazon. These were the same workers he wasn't providing PPE to during COVID. It's always quite strange that leaders shine, but I don't know whether they should be so rewarded and so revered because of successes. The line of sight is very, very difficult. I think if we think of where Ramaphosa is in his first 4 years, out of 10, what would we rate him based on his results? What would we rate Ramaphosa in his first 4 years as president? 5 out of 10. And why is that? Absolutely. But sometimes I think, Riyasat, the nature of the environment and the reality, those things are so against you that as much as you can try and lift and inspire, you're not going to change the fact that we're in a declining economy. You're not going to change the fact that the petrol prices are going through the roof. You're not going to be able to blame him for the fact that inflation has gone through the roof. And absolutely, Tanya, 100%. And it's quite interesting when you guys talk. Everyone tends to go towards the team notion and the importance of the team. And I think I quite like that because there are a couple of chapters dedicated to the role of followership. Now, the one thing that we've seen is that we tend to emphasize leaders all the time, but nowhere do we actually consider the followers. The idea of followership versus leadership takes a back seat. I think really good leaders surround themselves with really competent and really impressive people. And that to me is what a good leader is. I think it's very difficult to give leaders credit for the results they achieve, but it's also very difficult to blame them for the failures that they have. Okay. I'm not going to do that, guys. You can watch that on your own and have a glance at this. So let's look at leadership as a person. So remember here we look at traits and characteristics and those inborn things that make people special. In terms of the suggested traits that we can associate with leadership, the first one is drive. And so that need for achievement, that tangible motivation, the energy, the ambition that the person displays, the tenacity, being knocked down, being resilient, getting up again, taking the initiative when things go wrong. Give me examples of people who fit that definition in terms of drive, leaders that fit that definition. It can be business or world leaders. If we had to say Richard Branson, comments about Richard Branson, because those things often suggest Richard Branson to me. The energy, the tenacity, the fact that you explain a bit more, Cleo. I'm not too familiar with this person.
So,
What
okay,
makes it special? Yeah, go, Cleo.
my understand. So, okay, because my aunt, I was with my aunt. She said, okay, he's the leader, or yeah, the main leader of Dubai, or yeah, of Dubai, the UAE. But I think just what sticks out is his drive to see everything improve, to just bring in the latest innovation, the latest technologies. Because literally, how Dubai was literally like almost like, it was still like a desert 50 years ago, and look how it's grown to like what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's astonishing how that has grown. I think at some point, Dubai had the most cranes in the world in the same place. I don't know whether that's still the case, but all the main high-rise cranes, the most in terms of a single collection, was found in Dubai because of the growth. Yeah, they're very impressive. Thanks, Brett. I'm going to have a glance at that. Oh, okay. Who is this now? Oh yeah, Kiyosaki. Yeah, he obviously wrote a number of business books as well. Yeah, I think the reality is there's certain people, and obviously Kiyosaki does fit that definition. Guys, the second one is that not everyone wants to be a leader. Uh, and I need to explain this very carefully. Not everyone aspires to be in charge. Not everyone aspires to be the person who leads through others. I think there's some people in the world that are quite happy to be a worker, to be a follower, to be an employee, and don't aspire to those positions. You'll remember from first semester, I spoke about the modern way of how we define career success. And I'm very sure that I discussed it, that the traditional way is that career success is that ladder thing. And the higher you climb in the ladder, the more successful you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. And their career ladder is very clearly depicted in terms of the different slats and climbing. But there's some people that see career success as a horizontal thing. The more they contribute, the more they add value, the more they earn, and each of those circles would indicate specific competencies that people add. So not everyone aspires to be a leader. Who doesn't aspire to a leadership position? Who doesn't want to climb that specific career ladder? So everyone here sees career success as that thing there. Is that a fair comment? Because I don't aspire to be in a leadership position. I'm very happy to just be a worker. I don't want to be a principal. I don't want any title. I'm very happy to just be a worker. But I think it also is, Tanya, yeah, generally people are both, and you will evolve at some point where this is okay. But and who is all of that? Who sees career success as the higher I go, the more I earn, the better my car, the better looking my secretary, and so forth, or the more handsome. I don't know what the right term for a gender neutral secretary is. Clear. So for you, you see ambition as climbing, and it's about change. And obviously, we can't not. But there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, just don't use Indeed.com to find the theories on that. That's such a weak joke. I'm so sorry. Everyone here has heard me talk about Indeed.com. I'm so sorry. That was the weakest moment ever. I'll edit that out. Guys, and then yeah, so we want people who are large and in charge, and I think Riyasa loves using Indeed. Guys, then the third one there, honesty and integrity. Can we say that of all people in charge? Very nice, Walter. Yeah, very, very cool. Is honesty, is integrity an important part of being a leader? Yeah, I said I'm going to beat you with a baseball bat. Is it true to say that of all leaders, are all leaders honest and have integrity? You know, the rule is, how do you know when a politician is lying? How do you know when a politician is lying, guys? Yeah, the lips are moving. I think generally that's the belief. But in the ideal world, you want somebody who you can trust. And remember, those two elements are key bits in terms of trust. And you can see there, it's about being authentic. It is where you walk the talk. It is about trustworthiness. And the truth is, trust is a concept that doesn't really exist anymore. I think we have a crisis of ethics. We have a crisis of trust. Tell me of a world leader that you trust. Gosh, that is a loaded question. Give me examples of a world leader that you trust. Barack Obama, absolutely, Brett. I think for me, he was the most trustworthy leader in the 21st century, without a shadow of a doubt. Ongeziwe, I think a lot of people will agree with you. I don't trust. I don't trust Cyril Ramaphosa, although I suppose 10 years ago I was the biggest Cyril Ramaphosa fan. But the reality is that yeah, the feet, yeah, are made of clay. I think it's a key thing in terms of building trust and understanding, and the walking the talk and the authenticity is so important. And then self confidence. I think a lot of leaders have self confidence. I mean, Trump has self confidence in abundance. I think people like Richard Branson, Mark Zuckerberg, they have self confidence, although they might show it very differently. And then cognitive ability. Again, sorry, let's move on because Joe Biden was one of my pictures. But I think the reality is that leaders think strategically. They are able to maneuver themselves and others to achieve certain things. And I think often leaders have the ability to manage their perceptions of intelligence. I think leaders think that they're often a lot more intelligent than those that surround them. I'm not a Jacob Zuma fan, but I think the difference between Zuma and Ramaphosa is when Ramaphosa walks into a room, he believes he's the brightest person in the room. When Zuma walked into a room, he realized he's not the brightest in the room. And I think he was able to appoint competent people, although they served a very different function than he would hope in terms of the country. Guys, and then lastly, knowledge of the business. And obviously, this is why you work your way through the business to understand it. I know some people have asked me about an MBA and doing an MBA. What I see is happening in terms of an MBA is that those destined for leadership positions will be trained by the business. The business believes they can prepare their employees more often than an MBA can. Not that there's anything wrong with doing an MBA. Guys, so the first one suggests leaders are born. I think there is some truth to it. There are some natural leaders that you could see from an early age that this person will be in a leadership position. The second one, or the second aspect, would be leadership as a process. And as I said, here we believe that we can train people to behave like leaders. We can behavior model so that people can behave like leaders. So often people who had no intention and who weren't looking to become leaders can in fact be trained how to do the leadership thing, because we have so many leadership theories. And why have a course that says strategic management and leadership if we don't believe that we can't train people to be leaders? I honestly think you can train people to behave like leaders. But I sometimes think the magic ingredient is that leadership as a person. So they act differently to others. Give me examples of when leaders are expected to act differently. When do you expect leaders to step up and take charge and act differently? When the guy absolutely Riyasad, 100%. I think in times of crisis, the first person everyone looks to, absolutely, Tanya, is the leader. So here, the belief is that in a crisis, leaders will behave differently, that these are the people that will step up to the plate and take charge. The second one is that often leadership depends on the context you find yourself in. So we know that one of the things that leaders have to learn to do is to adjust their behavior, that often leadership is situational. You will behave very differently in a company that is performing and that is meeting its targets to when the going gets tough, to steal Riasad's term. And when there is a crisis, you need to adjust and almost make sure that you adopt a contingency-based approach to leadership. Then we must also understand that for a leader to be successful, that leader has to fit into a particular culture. So that bit suggests the importance of followership. I think a leader is only successful if they behave within the context of an organization's culture, within the context of the personality of an organization. And the key thing there is that often leaders will behave in a way that people expect them to behave. And that comes back to emphasizing the importance of followership. That often you will behave depending on how your followership expects you to behave. Who has come across the term followership before? Who has thought about the importance of followership in the context of leadership, or has it always been about leaders? Who has thought about the fact that people are leaders because of followers and we don't spend enough time on followers? Who has heard the concept of followership prior to tonight? Please don't neglect the importance of followership, because we always emphasize leadership. But here it is important to to remember and realize that as a leader, followers have certain, it definitely makes one think, Tanya, that followers will expect a leader to behave in a certain way, which will often guide the way the leader behaves. I hope that makes sense. In terms of leadership as a position, here we look at the hierarchical position a person adopts. Now, the reality is when we talk about leadership as a person, that's what we're looking at. That is that kind of climb the ladder and be successful. It is that view of leadership. So the belief is that we put you in a position. Give me examples of leaders that have been put in positions and have bombed completely. Leaders that have been put in positions only to fail. CEO of Rand Water, elaborate on that. I'm going to quickly look at it. CEO of
Well, so
Rand Water.
I have very bittersweet
Yeah.
feelings about this at the moment. So
Okay.
I feel like he's not equipped for handling this because, okay, yes, I'd imagine the population has grown and the demand has grown in recent years. But I haven't heard the reservoir is empty more times than I've heard in the past 3 years.
Yeah, sorry. Rand Waters. Oh gosh, look who says it. We have a GNU and somebody in the GNZoo. Oh yeah. Walter, yeah. Did anyone see the Gold Mafia? The Al Jazeera investigation into the Gold Mafia? I want to quickly. This is. I'm just going to quickly shortcut that Gold Mafia. If you want to see how dodgy Zimbabwe is run, I mean, watch this series on YouTube. It's that, and you'll see who gets implicated. I mean, it. Yeah, sorry, Walter, you've seen it, and it gets taken right to the president of Zimbabwe, involved in smuggling gold and the gold mafia. It is a fascinating series. It makes you look very differently at Africa, unfortunately, and I hate doing that. But yeah, so the CEO must go. Oh gosh, the reservoir is empty. Yeah, Cleo, maybe it is. I think people get promoted beyond their capability. And I don't want to pick on people, but the coach of the Springbok Sevens, before obviously the current people took over, he just couldn't do it. The Springbok Sevens coach. I mean, under him, there was no way we were going to win a bronze medal. And we just went backwards. And I think people are promoted beyond their competency. Guys, the second one is often what leadership does. It gives you the right to exercise your power over resources. So you can allocate budgets. You can spend time providing bonuses and rewarding some people and punishing others. And then lastly, it really is about creating the vision and creating direction and controlling the way people behave and punishing those that don't behave. Yeah. And then the last one, leadership as results. I think you could be the greatest leader ever, but if the environment that you find yourself in, and I'm talking about the external environment, doesn't lend itself to it, I think the line of sight is impossible to measure. I mean, how do we measure an individual's contribution to the success of an organization when you've hit a sweet spot? When, if it's a purple patch, you are going to look really good as a leader. But we also know the opposite to be true. Any Sorry, let me just do this one. Right, any questions, any comments about that? Is it fair to define leadership from those four perspectives? And how has it changed from the past? How did we define leadership in the past? Sorry, I'm typing a picture here. If we look at the traditional definition of leadership, it's that guy there. Who is that? It was based on power. I think it was also based on characteristics. So who is that person there? Let me try and give a better suggestion. No, that's not a very good one. It's Prince Charming. Very cool, Mark. The bad guy from Shrek. But when we think of what leadership was initially, it was the guy on the white horse rushing off to the bad guy from Shrek, rushing off to save the princess. I think that was our original definition, and I think that has changed. I think we realize that it's more than just characteristics. I think it's the white horse, guy on a white horse, off to save a maiden. And I think the world has evolved from that. And yeah, Prince Charming, guys. Who has not seen Shrek? I always worry when people tell me they've never seen Shrek. Has everyone at least seen Shrek? It's obviously a documentary that you have to watch. Oh, for Pete's sake, Anastasia. What rock have you lived under? Donkey is a legend. I mean, he's my hero. Anastasia, have you seriously not seen? Oh dear, guys, can we all please? I don't know what to do. It's a documentary. Sorry. Everyone has layers. Okay, Anastasia, your homework for next week is to watch Shrek 1. Oh gosh. I mean, it came out, I think, in 90, gosh, I want to say 99 or so. Oh my word, Anastasia. I blame your parents. It's as simple as that. Oh, Ongeziwe. Homework is to go and watch Shrek. I blame the parents. It is part of your education. It's like showing people Star Wars. You need to see those movies. Okay, guys, let's look at leadership and power. The argument here is that leadership and power go hand in hand, that you cannot separate power from leadership. Give me examples of leaders that live for power, that everything about them is about their power. Oh gosh, sorry. Lives for power. Kim Jong, Putin, absolutely. I think they're about power, and it's about being large and in charge. Sorry, guys, I'm searching this on the other side, and I might as well search this in front of you. And I think often Russia believes that their success depends on Putin being portrayed as a hero. And one of my favorite things is Putin on horseback. Um, there was this campaign to show everyone what a tough man Putin is. So he's on a tundra somewhere, and they have these pictures of him And then there was some stuff. Sorry, yeah, that's not real. No, no one can unsee it, guys. No one can unsee it. But for Russia to be portrayed as a world power, they believe this guy has to be a world power. Now, there were a number of these pictures shared, and at least there's not ice surrounding him that time. No one can unsee it. I'll remove it now. Oh gosh. Okay. But one of my favorite things, and there were stories about him saving people and rescuing people. And I mean, here's Kim Jong-un, and then Putin on three-wheel motorcycle. I hope I can find this one. Yeah, where is he? He arrived, is that him? He arrived at an opening on this three-wheel motorcycle. Again, being depicted as this tough man. And yeah, I don't know how riding a three-wheeler makes you tough. It is modern day propaganda, 100%. One of my favorite things in the world is there's a thing called the Onion News. Now, the Onion News, my gosh, they have these outrageous headlines. They did an article where they compared Barack Obama at beach. I hope I can. This is the one. No, where is he? Oh, there he is. Oh gosh, sorry, I don't want you to be disturbed by this again. And what the Onion News did is they did a comparison between the size of his peck and the pecs of Putin. And they wrote that leaders is about the right pecs, etc. Um, and I just thought maybe that's what the world had come to, that we care about the pics of our leaders. And well, you need to read the Onion News. It's absolutely insane. But it's an indication that it's all veneer and it's all showing off, and it's always worry what pictures will open in the background there. So in terms of leadership, it's about power. And then power comes from your position. I think Putin, without that position, is just a fat, bald man. The reality is that the power he has comes from that position. The same with Kim Jong-un. I mean, yeah, I'm being recorded, so I can't give you my description of Kim Jong-un, but no, I can't. Let's just say he looks like a 12-year-old old overweight vegetarian. Sorry, if you are a vegetarian, I'm sorry. Before I offend the vegetarians and the fruitarians, guys. And then the next one is it allows you to mobilize resources. Who are the vegetarians here? Okay, I'm so glad, because mind you, I'll offend vegetarians today, guys. And then it's the ability to mobilize resources. You're vegan. Oh, bugger off, Brett. You cannot be a vegan. Are you serious that you're vegan? That was going to be minus 50%. Yeah, no, it's very good for you. I don't know. Okay, guys, just to say, and it's the power to mobilize resources. The simple truth is that it allowed Putin to mobilize the resources to invade, yeah, to invade another country. It's that power would not have happened. Do you think it would have been different if Putin was assassinated early on in the war? Would we still see the war? I think we wouldn't have war. And that's what leadership does, and the ability to instill fear in people. Guys, you've seen this before. Leaders' basis of power. The first one, access to information and sharing information. Very, very much an important part of leadership. Being privy to things that happen being on the inside. And we know that information is power, and we know that information is the lifeblood of an organization. Other base of power is to give and withhold reward. I think when Trump did The Apprentice, if you landed that job as an apprentice, it gave you access to a six-figure salary. It gave you access to company plane, company helicopter, etc. And that is serious, serious power. Then we get to the power that, yeah, I don't really like, coercion. There are too many examples of this, guys. We have too many bullies in power that everything is about fear and the threat of fear against people. Legitimate power comes from positions. Expertise comes from the knowledge base that you have. Give me examples of leaders with serious expert power. Mark Zuckerberg. Come on, guys. Elon Musk must fit into that, because Elon Musk, as much as he's gone slightly wonky, is seriously bright. Bill Gates is seriously bright. You 100% right, Walter. And then obviously Jeff Bezos would fit into that as well. We have a lot of these examples, especially in the tech field. Gordon Ramsay, and that is such a wonderful example, because I would never think of that, but it's an excellent example. Tanya, he has serious expertise power. He has serious expertise power. And then referent power is about charisma. It's about that intangible. Tanya, I love that example because I would never have gone there myself. I really, really like that example. Um, yeah, Jacob is very, very charismatic, guys. I mean, he was the architect behind state capture. And when the MK won, people were pandering to him. And you think, this is the oak that sold us out to the Guptas. He has serious charisma. No, I thought that was real, Brett. Serious. It's the intangible. It's those undefinable characteristics that attract people. Um, Other people with serious charisma, leaders. Charismatic power. Malema is very charismatic, guys. I don't consider either of those two leaders. I really don't have much time for either. But Julius is charismatic. I think when he's around his followers, I also think there's strong elements of coercion in Julius. I think there's a lot of coercive power. But Julius is very charismatic. Other charismatic leaders? Trump is charismatic. As much as I despise the person, Trump is charismatic. I mean, not for me, but for his followers. I mean, yeah. Other charismatic leaders? Richard Branson for me always. Gordon Ramsay is very charismatic. Don't underestimate how charismatic he is. Guys, in terms of the power that we use, we get two forms. The first one is hard power. That is the coercion, which comes with authority. What are the dangers of only using that power to get people and get people to perform, to influence people? No loyalty, and there'll be pushback, guys. There'll be pushback. I mean, if you look at Trump's lawyer, Cohen, what's Cohen's name? Can somebody quickly help me? He was a loyalist, but he was pushed and pushed and pushed, and now he is pushing back. And I think that happens. What is Cohen's name? Trump's lawyer? Oh, why can't I think now? Oh, gosh, can someone type it in the background? It'll come to me in a second. Soft power is about relationships. It is about getting people to appreciate that we're part of this together, that we're in this boat together. And often it's based around those two things. So what you tend to do is you realize very rapidly that you're nothing without those individuals around you. And you then use relationships, and it becomes this collective force that happens. This is an interesting one, and this is a newer concept. And um, I think so, Riyasat. But also, if it's a positive relationship, you would hope that it's not going to happen. But I think everything can and will be open to questioning, depending on how you use it. But there's a chance that people will start manipulating. Guys, this is a new concept, and I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have come across this in your previous studies. So we look at ecological power. And it's something that's very real, and it's this ability here, guys, the power to change someone's work environment. We saw this in instances where work from home has become such a valued option in terms of the employment relationship, that allowing people to work from home and having the authority to do that is a serious, serious power. Or to do the reverse, to tell people who were relaxing at home and working in their pajamas to return to work. It has the ability to influence. Options there. The first one is open plan officer. I think there are advantages. I am ADHD, so I couldn't work in an open plan office. I think I would be the most distracting person, and I would have things thrown at me. And then the nasties, moving people and being able to move people either to Timbuktu or to Sydney in Australia. And you have these choice positions that people all aspire to. And if you're in the right on the right side of the boss, you end up living in luxury. Otherwise, you live somewhere in Siberia, guys. And then also how to organize your work. I think it is generally hand in hand with empowerment. When you start handing power over to people, you are changing the way their work is organized. You know, if people have in the past been part of a production line and you turn them into self-managed teams, those are things that allow power to the manager. Has anyone ever thought of this as a power thing, as a leadership thing?
Yeah, I have.
Have you, Ongeziwe? And
Yes.
and where have you seen examples of it?
At my previous workplace, and I resigned.
And what did they do?
No, the boss leader. Okay, well, he was never a
Yeah.
leader, but he was just the boss. He kept changing. I was once in the Joburg office, then moved to Pretoria office, then Joburg office again. Keep changing everything. The work keeps being deleted, restart again. There was never a line. Like nothing was making sense, and he was too coercive as well. So I was like, nah, bye.
For me, it suggests a serious, serious level of coercion. Has
Yeah, okay.
anyone ever had this happen to them? But that's 100% right. Moving between Pretoria and Joburg and back, you never sack them.
Yes, and he will make us do things. You do your whole campaign, marketing campaign, then he says, do it all over again, delete everything. Makes us create databases, deletes the databases, restart the database. Oh God, it was just too much. I was like,
No,
no, this one was
there's
weird.
a reason you resigned, I think.
That was my
There's a
main reason
reason.
to resign. I was like, no ways. No, no, no. I ain't
No, no,
crazy. But
sanity
yeah,
is more
you see,
important than a job
yeah.
sometimes. Who else sees this and has seen evidence of this being used as a form of leadership? I know we've got 3 minutes to go, guys. Anyone else thought of using that as a way of showing leadership? I quite like this as a theory, guys. It is newer. I don't think we would have come across it in textbooks before, but it definitely has an influence on how we lead. Okay. I'm not going to have us do this, guys. I would rather just chat about it, and I want you to think about it. So you cannot separate influence from leadership. If we look at every definition of leadership, there's an element of influence. And there are different ways of influencing. Coercion is a form of influence, but also influence through being charismatic and referent leadership. So often influence is about exercising your personal power. But what it also does, it gets people that you lead to change their attitudes, their behaviors, their beliefs, their actions. And I'm going to just try and finish this, guys. Please have a look at those options in terms of influencing tactics and tell me which is your preferred one, that you which one you're more likely to react to, and which ones would you push against. Which of these would be good in influencing your behavior, and which ones would be bad? So the first one is about facts and presenting facts and convincing you with facts. Who likes that in terms of taking decisions to act in a particular way? Who wants the facts and figures? Quite like that. Okay, Chelsea, I like that. Who would respond quite well to someone saying to them, listen, there's something in this for you. This is part of your growth. This is part of your career. This is part of your future successes. So it's almost telling a person that is good for you because you will benefit in the long run. Who reacts to that? I like that, Riyasat. Rational and consultation. Okay, yeah, consultation is absolutely everything. Cleo, that's interesting because it ties in with that triangle we drew about your career successes. And it is a way of influencing. It absolutely is a way of influencing. Inspirational appeals. And here it's about saying to people, it's your duty. It's about your values. It's about the inspirational one is interesting because there's something called the Protestant work ethic. Has anyone heard that term before? Sorry, I'm going to search it in front of you, and I'm so worried when I do this. The Protestant work ethic. Has anyone heard that term before? Have a glance at that, because you can almost tie that in to that specific category. So it's almost to guarantee your place in heaven, you work hard on earth. And those that don't work hard, well, you're not going there. Do you think that's still relevant today? Absolutely, Charles. No, it is about personal values. These, to me, are imposed values. Sorry, and again, this is a dated concept. So when we look at that, we can argue that that fits into that, values and ethics and hopes and morals and ideals. Guys, and then obviously consultation. Yeah, I know somebody said, who said, Cleo or Tanya, you said that. Yeah, ask me for suggestions, don't tell me what the solutions are. Guys, and then exchange, it's the what's in it for me. Okay, I see people are disappearing.